Part two coming at ya, coming into your face, coming into your radio, coming into your AirPods, coming into your Discman anti-shock. Did you ever have a Discman anti-shock?
Um, Definitely, 100%. I was just trying to think what we have. We used to have the Discman
Were you? How old are you?
39.
Yeah, so you were in like
Yeah,
my
we had the
our
portable.
generation, the
We had
Walkman generation.
yeah, the Walkman generation. Yeah, we used to have the Walkman, like the family. Well, we had one like the Walkman with the
The
cassette
the
auxiliary
multiple
cord that you
plugins.
plug into the car to then play the CDs.
Yeah, that got stolen from me. My CD case. Remember when your CD case, someone broke into my car, took the cassette into Discman, into all my CDs. It was
Mhm.
full on devastating. All the mixtapes from all the chicks coming out. No, it was really no chicks actually. Just just me making myself a mixtape. Ah. Anyway, now I've lost me on like the chicks making me CDs, which probably didn't happen, but in my head it might have happened. We're talking about repeat clients today, and the first actually super interesting. So make sure you go back and listen to part one. We just asked a bunch of clients, of our old clients, what do you look for in your ideal electrician? And I think so often we are looking to see what our goals are, and that's fantastic. But when you can make your goal or someone else's goal your goal, providing an awesome service, providing an awesome product, and what you want in terms of pretty much like more work, consistent work, more money, net profit 20%, all that stuff lies on the other side of what other people want. And if you're providing them with an excellent service, excellent product, then you can get more work, you get a couple more staff members potentially if that's what you want. You can park the boat, rip up the handbrake, do some doughies, maybe no doughies, maybe just park and I'm happy at this 6 staff, 10 staff, 3 staff, gold jacket, green jacket, irrelevant. We talked about our landscaper friend who we messaged, and his first one was honest, reliable, punctual. So we won't get into that. I do want to highlight one thing. Sometimes if you are consistently unreliable or consistently not punctual or unable to keep your punctuality, it might just be the fact that you are too busy and it could be a hiring indicator. It's the same thing across the office. If your admin is consistently behind, invoices consistently behind, late payments haven't been followed up since 50 Cents into Club got released in 2001. There's a couple of invoices owing from 2012. Insert obscure early 2000s reference here. NSYNC, whatever. Who cares? But it might not be that you're bad or unproductive or malicious. It could just be the fact that you're too busy, and too busy is always a huge hiring indicator. But coming into these next two, I want to this is huge, right? We're gonna get into definitely 3 topics here. So honest, reliable, punctual. That was part one. The second one is check the project budget with the project manager. So in this case, a landscaper before upselling. Huge. Check the project budget before upselling. So I think this is interesting, right? As a Sparky with your maximize the job workflow, coming in and pointing out a cracked PowerPoint and pointing out what you could do inside, and I could hang the pendant here and I could get this and put an LED strip here, and your place can look like Cargo Bar in the mid 2000s. You can be like, sick, like a DJ set over here, we'll get rocks that look like speakers that walk. You can go through, and that's cool. Like, I think you've got to be thorough. I'm not saying don't be thorough. I'm saying, you should suggest it, but also reference that you haven't been part of the initial budget discussions. So let's say there's a 80K budget or 50K or 100K or 200K, whatever it is. Sometimes there's no budget, let's face it, and the client's like, go for it. But double check with the project manager, whoever's in charge of the job. Hey, I want to suggest this, this, and this. Obviously, there's certain non-negotiable items that you shouldn't compromise on. If you're drilling an asbestos switchboard to put an RCD on at a diagonal because you can't fit it anywhere on the top panel or next to the meter, dang, 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 like, that's ridiculous. I'm not talking about that. Anything non-negotiable on the critical pathway has to happen. But, you can't save the client money off a non-negotiable item, but maybe just double check the budget before you go suggesting things. Because anyone who's ever done anything, once you get the client moving on stuff, they're like, oh, dimmers across here. Oh my gosh, yeah. Next minute, quote, next minute, the landscaper or project manager has lost a portion of their work that they need to complete because you've eaten a piece of the pie. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I think that's fundamentally understanding how you got the job. So like how did you get it? So there's obviously a number of things to look at here. You know, generally have the discussion with how you got the job. So in this instance, let's use landscaper X for example. So he's got you in to do the job. It's about communicating with him. Now, in some instances, like for example, he's like, "Hey man, I just need you to get all the pricing associated with this portion of the jobs, right? We need to get that over the line, and then you can then deal with the client directly on anything else they want done internally. Like they may not want anything to do with you. So I think fundamentally to have an understanding where they want to start and finish, and that's a conversation you need to have with the person who got you the job as such. If it's then an all-encompassing style client, like let's a build is the easiest one to sort of give the example of here, is that again you need to have the conversation with the builder to be like, hey, these are the other things that we've come across. What are we, and what are we not discussing with the client? And I've had it both ways, every single time. Sorry, both ways in my life that sometimes they're like, hey, anything that happens here, just flick it through us. But and then equally too, we just want to worry about this portion of the works. Anything else outside of that, can you just deal directly with the client with that? So I think it's really important to understand what they are and aren't okay with, and have the conversation every time on every job. Because on one job, one set of rules might apply, purely because you don't know what they've agreed to as the client. On another set of job, on another job, it's going to be a different set of rules. So I think always be mindful of, I guess, the hand that's feeding you, because you don't want to bite their hand, because then the hand will disappear.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it's such an interesting discussion. A lot of times, a builder or landscaper or someone on the job will have a margin on top of your work to suit usually like a warranty and insurance situation because their scope grows like that, and their warranty needs to expand. As a warranty expand, there's a fee to that. Their project management expands usually. So if your job doubles or triples in size, who's arranging access, who's arranging this, who's arranging the excavator, who's arranging all this kind of stuff, having respect there. If you go straight to the client's probably going to give you one job every Olympics or one or two jobs every Olympics, right? Every 4 years if you were living under a rock and don't know what the Olympics do anymore. So, but the landscaper, project manager, whoever, in this case, landscaper, might have three or four jobs for you across the year. And when I say three or four jobs, they're going to win those jobs and then call you and be like, I got this job. And you're like, yeah, cool. And it's probably already a given that you're going to do the electrical work. So it's absolute the cost of losing or upsetting the repeat client has disastrous ramifications across your top line and bottom line. Huge. So understanding where you sit in the food chain, you're not the top dog. More than likely not. If you're going to the client, and if a client, I've had it before, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I've had the client say to me, I had a phone call really early on from the client from this client. We're working for this builder, and it was this commercial place. And she called me, and I think my bill was like $200. I went there for a site inspection to double check if we could do something or not. Turns out we could do it. So sent the bill to the bill. They passed it on with, I think it was like a 15 or 20% margin. Let's just call it $30. Like, who cares? Client called me, and they were like, hey, I've just got the bill from this client. Do you think do you think they needed to put a margin on this? Like, what did they do with you? Did they, and you know, part of me and part of you always, if you're a nice person, is to sort of respond, oh yeah, maybe they didn't, like, but is that you got to recognize, I remember having this sort of internal dialogue going on when it was happening, almost like good cop, bad cop, what do you do kind of thing. And I remember just saying, did they send an invoice for like their time? She said no. I'm like, okay, sweet. So you had the builder, in this case was father and son. I said you had a father and son there. discussing a potential opportunity for this work, if it could be completed or not. They didn't bill you for that. They've made $30 in 60 minutes. It hardly seems far-fetched to me. You know, you really got to stand up for the other side. You got to stand up for those people, or just be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. It's actually like I don't really know how it gets invoiced. I just send an invoice to them. I'd love you to discuss this directly with them." You can back out of these situations, but that's multiple times in my career. You're sending something and someone's like, "Oh, do they really need to?" And I think you got to stand up for the hand that feeds you, just like you would stand up. You got to stand up for those people giving you repeat work. Or if something happens like that, at least communicate back to them. Hey, you know, Susie had a drama with this. Betty had a drama with this. Hey, Joe has been asking about this. What do you want me to do? Fully. Have you had that before with a client sort of
Yeah,
questioning margins? Yeah.
yeah,
Super
they like
interesting.
it's sort of like same as you. So basically, exactly what you said there is it's like, well, first and foremost, like what is I think you need to take a step back here, and this is not an us communication. This is you need to talk to the builder, for example, in this instance about this, because we work for them and you've engaged them. So contractually, you have an agreement there that I'm sure is fine, but also standing up for them in regards to the conversation that you had that, like, well, that's, they've got the site temp fencing, they've got the bin on site, they got the labourer there who cleans up every day and makes sure the site's functioning and running. So there's like little things like that. I think sometimes people just need to be reminded of too, because I think there's a general perception that it just happens, but it's like, no, well, but simple as right as the sign in, sign out QR code on the fence, right? With all the site documentation. Like that platform just doesn't come about for free. Like the builder or like, landscape or whoever it is, they have to have a subscription to a platform that allows you to do that.
They got
Um,
administration processing the invoices. A
100%. So
lot of
that's
times, the warranty of jobs like that, like the insurance, which sort of might double as home warranty. I'm a little bit unfamiliar in other states, but New
yep.
South Wales, the builder is unable, or builder or client or project manager is unable to do more work until that work's completed because they're capped a lot of the time. So it's like if they don't finish the job, if your scope is dragging the job out, it actually can affect their next job, the
Completion.
job after that. So it's just understanding your place in the matrix, Keanu Reeves style,
Yeah.
and working out from there. Yeah.
I think a lot of it really comes down to communication, which I think is a whole it's a whole nother subject and topic to talk about. But a lot of it is communicating. So talking to parties involved or the hand that feeds you and getting an understanding of where their expectations lie and what they do and what their understanding of they want you to do, what your understanding is what they expect you to do. So a lot of this, I guess, the matrix, if we're going down that line with it, is sometimes it's just a conversation that needs to be had. And I believe strongly in it, like communicating with people to find out what's required. Because I think the key here, and this is going a little bit off track, but we can go down another time, is that sometimes fundamentally you're just not going to align with someone on face of it. So they could be lots of opportunity, could be seem like a really good guy, but then when you go and have the conversation around understanding what their processes and expectations around with you is, you're like, oh, I don't really agree with that. Like it could be like, how do you expect me to be reliable and punctual when you give me half a day's notice? Which,
Put it on a napkin.
yeah, or like, how do you expect me to get this done today when we don't even have a set of plans that
Yeah.
are so I think really understanding also to the communication side of things, um, because communicating it just answers so many of the questions.
Yeah. I think you kind of at the start of this, I think you said something that was probably so incredibly simple, but so incredibly profound that just ask. You just every job just ask, hey, who is this invoice? What do you want me to do with the variation works? What am I doing? I think that's the simple thing. So many times we're trying to read minds or make decisions for or not bother someone when in
Mm.
fact it's just a simple question. Hey, what would you like me to do here? And then, well, how do you want to run this one? Bang, everyone's on the same page. We're locked and loaded, pushing forward. But coming
And
into a huge one, communication, as we
yeah,
land the sort of plane in and I get like, I guess my wrap up and summary is don't neglect the simple things in your business. Honesty, punctuality, turning up on time, communication. It's these things that drive a client to return to you and use your services again. So don't neglect that. Whatever you're doing, do it well, do it with a good attitude. See you back soon.
take care.
Bye.